On this episode of He Said, She Said Movie Reviews, we take a look at the movie Rocketman, written by Lee Hall and directed by Dexter Fletcher, starring Taron Egerton, Jamie Bell, Richard Madden, and Bryce Dallas Howard. Welcome to He Said, She Said Movie Reviews. This is the podcast where a happily married couple with similar but different movie taste take a quick, spoiler-free look at the movies, helping you make the right decision before your next movie. I'm your host, Tim.
And I'm April.
So we went and saw Rocketman. I give this movie 4 stars, and April gives it 3.5. We'll tell you all about it right after these 2 trailers.
The first trailer we saw was Angel Has Fallen. Looks really good. It's about a Secret Service agent, Mike Banning. He's framed for the attempted assassination of the president and must evade his own agency in the FBI as he tries to uncover the real threat. Release date's August 23rd. It's Gerard, Butler, Lance Reddick, and Morgan Freeman. Basically part 2 of London Has Fallen. The second trailer we saw was The Kitchen. I'm so excited to see this movie. It's about the wives of New York gangsters in Hell's Kitchen in the 1970s as they continue to operate their husbands' rackets after they're locked up in prison. The release date is August. Tim?
August 9th. Sorry, that's a typo on my part.
Okay, August 9th. It's with Elisabeth Moss, Tiffany Haddish, and Melissa McCarthy. And what I really like is Tiffany and Melissa, this is not a comedy. I just cannot wait to see this movie.
Yeah, you read those 2 names together, you think, wow, a big comedy with Tiffany Haddish and Melissa. But this is Melissa McCarthy's second serious role. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Me too. I mean, just the preview of this, showing their intellect and their capabilities, I just got really excited.
A gangsta movie with females.
Looks good.
All right, so Rocketman. This is a musical fantasy about the fantastic human story behind Elton John's and his breakthrough years in the 70s. And this was directed by Dexter Fletcher, who is known for Eddie the Eagle, and he was one of the producers on Bohemian Rhapsody. And it was written by Lee Hall, who wrote Billy Elliot in The Warhorse.
Okay, and a little tie-in, as we talked about the director and writer of Billy Elliot, I just want to bring up that in the cast, Jamie Bell, who played Bernie, in this incredible movie, his best friend was the star of Billy Elliot. I did not know that until recently.
And Dexter Fletcher, the director, he directed Taron Egerton in Eddie the Eagle. So there's a bunch of tie-ins to different movies with this one.
There is. Tim, I want you to talk about...
Well, the rest of the cast was rounded out by Richard Madden, who is from Game of Thrones.
Right.
And then, of course, Bryce Dallas Howard. So.
And who's the star? Who played Elton John?
Oh, Taron Egerton. Sorry, I thought I said that. So
no,
Taron Egerton.
And he was absolutely fantastic. The acting in this movie was spot on. I love Elton John. I was emotional through it. Anyone that knows me knows I'm not a musical person. Of course, the runtime was 121. I'm going to say there was a lot of singing. But it was amazing. Tim, take on the rated R theme.
Well, it was rated R for language throughout, some drug use and sexual content. I don't know. For me, this movie could have easily been PG-13. I didn't see anything that really rated an R rating. It's funny because you say that this was a musical. I would kind of argue with you, even though the description is that it's a musical. This was only about most musicals, the whole movie is singing. This was not a whole movie of singing. It was only about a third of the movie was singing. It's not like they broke out in song and dance at everything. This was a drama with a musical tied into it. Hey, listen, bottom line, if we talk about the score, if you like Elton John, you're going to love this movie.
That's true. I mean, of course I love his music. I'm just saying there was a lot of singing. And I happen to love the music, but,
Yeah, but most of this, 90% of the singing was concert.
I know. I'm just saying.
There was only like 2 scenes where they broke out in song and dance.
All right.
That weren't in concert settings within the movie.
Let's go
right?
to the theme and the tone was simple. It was a lot of drug and alcohol abuse of father-son issues, but the theme for me of the movie is not just that love conquers all, but be who you are. Be who you are. That is what the message was in this movie.
I also think this movie might have a little bit of a redemption theme to it, too, if you watch it all the way through. And,
yes,
and pick
that's
things
so
up.
true.
There is redemption in the end of this movie.
Yeah.
And I never realized until I saw this, and I've always been a huge fan of Elton John, how messed up he was in his earlier career.
Well, what got me to cry at the very end was how much money he went on to raise for AIDS. I knew it was a lot, but I had no idea it was over $400 million. I thought that was just phenomenal.
Yeah, it's kind of cool at the end where they give, show pictures from Elton John's life and give some facts about Elton John. I thought there was some really interesting stuff.
I cried.
There's really, for me, there's really the only gripe I have about the movie, and it goes back to the pace. The pace moved along really well and really fast. And for me, it almost moved too fast because you kind of lost the sense of where in his career and in the timeline you were.
Yeah.
That was, at least for me, I kind of like, oh, wow, we jumped from there to there that quickly.
I understood that. I want to say that the dialogue was well written, though. I felt like they did such a good job. And the production design, it really felt like the 70s. I thought it was amazing. The cinematography was great. What can we say?
Yeah, you talk about the production design. There's a scene where they're in L.A. and they're driving down the street. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, it looks like the 70s in L.A. Both April and I were alive in the 70s and in California.
Right.
And it looked like the 70s in California. All the cars on the streets were cars from the 70s. It was, the production design was really well. I have no gripes about this movie. It was a really good movie. If you like Elton John movies, and you don't have to like musicals, because I don't think this was a musical, I think you'll really enjoy this movie.
Yes, I thought it was great. And shout out, Mr. Egerton, I'm going to use an official term here, playing Elton John. You were amazing. Worthy of an Academy Award. I just was so impressed.
Yeah, I know this movie's come out early in the season. I hope they do remember this movie when the award season comes around, because I think there's a lot to look at with this movie.
Yeah. I enjoyed it, every minute of it, even though, and we've already been redundant here about the music, but I enjoyed it. I really did. There are some painful parts to watch. I know I'm just not into withholding love in any situation. So that's always hard to watch for me.
Yeah,
but
there's some serious daddy issues in this movie.
Yeah, there's things that, and with a child, that's hard. But I absolutely love the fact that he became sober the rest of his life, went on to raise so much money for an important cause. And I've always loved him, just from the time I was little. So I just want to do a shout out, Sir Elton John, rock on.
This is a really cool movie. I hope you all go see it. I hope you support it. It's worth it. It's worth seeing it. Like I said, you love Elton John music, you got to see this movie.
Yep. All right. We will see you at the movies. And I just want to do a shout out to the Spring Cinema and Tap House in Sandy Springs, Georgia. The only heated seats in Georgia and incredible luxury recliners. And you have to get to that amazing bar. A great selection of local craft beers, amazing wine and cocktails. So if you haven't been there and you're in or around Atlanta, you need to get there.
Hey, and if we could ask you to do one quick favor for us, if you're enjoying this podcast and you like it and you want to keep seeing it going on, tell a friend. Grab your friend's phone and say, hey, you like movies? Listen to this podcast. Show them how to listen to the podcast and how to download it. We would really appreciate it. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you at the movies.
We'll see you at the movies, and thanks for all your support.